Milton Shinberg, welcome to the Neuroarchitect.
Delighted to be here. I've found after teaching for 50 years and working as an architect for 50 years that much of what architects do doesn't really get to the heart and the soul and the spirit and the feeling of people. I was very fortunate to have a very good architectural education.
How are beauty and neuroscience linked to architectural design?
They're profoundly connected. I would say beauty is sometimes used in the same way that sometimes people use the word pretty. It's nice to look at, but beauty is much deeper than that.
You mentioned music and architecture. You know, the research findings say that the brain processes music and architecture almost the same way, in the sense that when we sit in a place, the design affects our taste in music, even music when it comes to our voice tone. Also, when it comes to beauty. So beauty can mainly mean security, familiarity. We feel that something makes us feel good for some reason, and we don't know why. But we know why as architects and designers in this field.
Do you think, I'll ask a question back, we can discuss it. Do you think that there are universals that people, regardless of culture, regardless of history or background, would be moved by?
Exactly. We are wired for certain proportions found in nature because we're species of survival. So we inherited the proportions of safety and of, danger. And it's related to nature, to natural proportions and fractals. But also, now you mentioned something else about the Acropolis. So as a Lebanese, we have 𝗵𝗶𝗶, a place that looks like the Acropolis and the temples it has. The first thing I would do is to compare what I have in my culture and this place. So this notion also of beauty is related to the experience and the comparison of what we know.
I think that's right.
This highlights the importance of what we provide to our children to grow a sense of proportions, of discovering materials, understanding the spaces in front of them.
Right. And that's right. And so when I've taught freshmen, first-year students in architecture, I find that there are two ways to approach them. And I found only one makes sense to me.
You reminded me of my experience when I was teaching also. I tried to include different ways, and the students were very excited to present because it's their talent, and they were happy to show their talent through this work. And at the same time, they learned from each other different ways of looking at how we can submit a work in different ways. So there are different perspectives at looking at the same subject. And also I gave them a role play. In professional practice, I gave them to do a role play where someone is the client, the other is the architect, and they start to show, for example, the client, so the student who is the client, started giving opinions or saying unexpected things to the other who is the architect.
I think what you're talking about is a beautiful illustration of how people really work. And one of the things that happens in architectural practice sometimes is that we diminish the role of the client and we don't give trust to their non-architect's wisdom.
When we listen to people and we see we observe how they use the space, they are the users of the space that we will create. So they will lead to the success of our projects also. If they use it more, if they feel comfortable in it, if they talk about it, we reach our goal.
Right. So that you feel coherent in a space, you feel well connected. And they would ask the architects, why aren't they working? And the architects didn't have an answer. They thought it was a great design. So the city instead went to a sociologist.
Because now we can also quantify the results. We can measure what's really happening now. And we can confirm if a space is not working properly. And also, there must be this difference between what we design to look at, to admire like a painting, and what we design to use. So if we want to design something that's beautiful to look at, yes, we can do it, and maybe it's a valid project. But can we use it? Can we use it as people, not just look at it and admire it? So this is a question that people will ask when they want to design.
I've done a lot of schools, designed 35 schools. But most architects don't have good techniques for getting really good help out of that process.
Now I understand that sometimes the clients tend to get confused of what they want. They want something, and then the next day they want something else, and here comes the role of the architect to tell them, okay, you asked for this, and this shape is what leads to this feeling.
Well, you're describing a dialogue. You're describing a way of developing architecture through engaging somebody and asking them questions and showing them ideas and getting responses. That's a respectful process. Unfortunately, architecture has a lot of very famous people who don't respect that process. There's a quote I just saw which went something like, I tell my clients what they want because they don't know.
Mm.
All right. It's not dialogue. That's a dictatorship of architecture.
That's not very nice.
And it's not very nice. I don't want to be engaged in a practice of architecture like that.
In the previous episode, I discussed this topic also with Dr. Margaret Tarampi. She was talking also about schools. We discussed with her that I had done also a presentation about schools and how they should be designed, because it is the place, it is the foundational place of understanding the spaces and creating a healthy relationship with the space in the future, related to work, related to our houses, to understand where we want to stay, where we want to feel, what we want to feel. A place for these students to be able to engage, socially engage, or sit a little bit alone, to be able to process the emotions when they feel overwhelmed by emotions. Okay, we'll have one classroom with different spaces within this classroom.
I agree completely. And students are different from each other. They need different environments to learn. And those environments are not static. And I think the other thing I would expand that point is to talk about neurodiversity in school design, but also office design and home design. I think if an architect gets to be good enough to design well for neurodiverse students and adults, you can design for anybody.
Milton, thank you for this interesting conversation.
My pleasure. I've really enjoyed talking with you. You have a wonderful way of looking at the world, and I really have enjoyed it.